IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashton Doctor, your habit coach, and today with us for a second time we have Kunal Rajput, aka Subtle Strength, talking to us, and we're going to be deep diving into exercise and working out and what all these strange words that you hear people throwing around actually mean, and what are the kinds of modalities that he has seen work very, very well, function well. And I'm almost thinking about this as a masterclass on understanding exercise and understanding the principles of exercise. So, Kunal, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Hi, Ashton. Thank you for getting me back over here. And I really hope I can do justice to this conversation. Whatever limited knowledge I have, I would try to make sure I'm actually imparting all of it over here. And yeah, I really hope that it helps people.
Thappad, limited knowledge. Wow, 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 wow. Subtle strength. You're trying to be the subtle part. Guys, if you go to his Instagram and you'll wonder why he's called subtle strength, because there's no concept of subtleness in it. He'll be like deadlifting the entire gym. So this whole concept of subtle strength. But Kunal, you've tried so many different modalities, right? Like we see you doing your HIIT, we see you do your running, we see you do your powerlifting. What are all these things? And tell us a little bit about these various things and styles of exercise, or like you call them language in our last podcast.
I'll tell you about my journey first. My journey started off with the entire mindset of gaining muscle. Okay. Now, my father was a bodybuilder. He was a professional bodybuilder. He had a commercial gym. He still runs a commercial gym. He has his own commercial gym in Malad. And so I grew up by looking at people working out at a normal gym and doing those isolation workouts. And basically just using those isolating machines and making sure that, okay, you're growing muscles, getting bigger every single day. And that was the whole mindset behind that. So for me at that time, fitness was basically going to the gym, breaking down muscles, doing isolation-based movements, getting bigger. And that was what fitness was. And I did it. I did it for like at least 3 to 4 years of my life. I did a CPT course. I understood how to go about it. I got some trains from my father, all the trainers who were there, and I started personal training people. And then I realized that, you know what, this is amazing. This is great. At the same time, this is more or less redundant because then you need to do a lot more things to just remain fit. Now, at that time, mind you, my language for fitness was already about working out by isolating muscles and breaking them down. But then I got exposed to something else because I had a drop in engineering. And at that time, I was doing nothing. I was just sitting at the gym and along came a flyer, this pamphlet, where this new course was happening. And this course was a kettlebell certification. And my mom, like any other mom, was like, you're just sitting over here, you're doing nothing. Take this and do the certification. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go to this place and I, at that time, I'm pretty fit, right? And I start doing the kettlebell workouts. To my surprise, man, like I couldn't last one kettlebell workout. Like I barely squeezed myself for the certification of it. Now the certification at that time was basically doing a workout in a 10-minute span, which was around 100 swings, some cleans, some presses, and then some snatches. I don't remember the specific number, but that was it with a 16 kg kettlebell. And my heart was all over the place. My heart rate was never pushed to that point. Like the last known point where I actually pushed my heart rate to that level was like racing for 100 meters when I was back in school. And then it just it struck me that, you know what, this is something like super fun because imagine being able to do this and then hearing stories by the person who's coaching us that, oh, this is cute and all. There's this one Russian guy who takes 224 kettlebells and does this. Also, the kettlebell athletes, they have amazing amount of like cardiovascular power because they end up taking 100 kgs and they keep squatting. I'm like, wow, the amount of fitness that these guys have. So at that point, it was like a turning point in my life because my language for fitness or my perception of fitness changed dramatically. My perception of fitness started getting like, okay, this is not only about building muscle. This is not only about hypertrophy. This is more than anything else. So building muscle at that means this building muscle is also called as hypertrophy based training. It's like breaking down your muscles so that when you sleep back, your body takes in all the protein in your system, it takes all the carbs in your system, and it starts rebuilding the muscles of your body and makes them bigger. Okay. So that is what hypertrophy is. But then along came kettlebell workouts, and then it ventured more into the functional aspect of it. Now, but basically using your body as one unit and making sure that, okay, you know what, you're doing good amount of tasks and you're really moving, you're using the muscles that you would never use. You are swinging. And when I saw people swinging for the first time, I'm like, dude, this guy is going to hurt himself. The kind of dynamic movement that he's doing with that heavy weight, he's actually going to hurt himself. And when I first did the kettlebell, when I held it on my this part on my forearms, resting on my forearms, and in a clean position, I thought that, oh my god, I'm going to break my forearm. But then this entire uh, change in perception came in that I started respecting the sport. I started respecting the way that these guys are like actually working out, and I wanted to do that because it reminded me of how the previous version of me who used to play football, who used to do sports, really enjoyed moving. And since then, I started like, you know what, I have to do kettlebell workouts. I have to make sure that I'm like, so I started doing random kettlebell workouts. And people saw me and I started coaching them because I was certified. And we participated. And we participated in a competition. And when this competition happened, and we went to a CrossFit gym. And this is, we are talking about 2015, 2016. CrossFit had just entered the Indian market. And this was a gym in Juhu. And I don't know if you've been to a CrossFit gym, man, but at that time, it was like the the attitude of the people, the amount, the persona of the people. Because first of all, I have a guy coming from Kandivali with people to Juhu or in a CrossFit gym who are like looking at us and like smoking and seeing this. I'm like, dude, why are these guys like showing so much attitude, man? Like, what is wrong with these guys? And then it just so happened that it got intrigued. We actually won that competition, so we got the respect. So I was very intrigued with the whole aspect of what the CrossFit community is like. Now, I have been training for kettlebell for a year and a half, and I feel that I'm pretty fit now. Of course, I've like won medals and I feel I'm fit. So I decided to, you know what, now it's time to go to a CrossFit class and like show them the attitude back again. And to my surprise, these guys were doing things with like extremely heavy barbells. I saw people like dead girls. I saw a rowing machine for the first time. And they were like, I still remember my friend Megha Gupta at that time. She was working out and like she was deadlifting 80, 90 kgs. I'm like, my God. And these guys are like working at that level and these guys are like pushing themselves to that point and looking like that. Like these guys look really good and they're looking like that. The amount of fitness levels that these guys have, it's completely different. So my perception to fitness and my exposure to fitness dramatically changed at that point. I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to start doing this. I need to make sure that I'm exposing my body to that thing. So by now, I'm doing a lot of kettlebell workouts. I have done my share of hypertrophy-based, isolation-based workouts, and now I'm venturing into CrossFit. And that time, I did CrossFit for a year and a half, and then I realized that this is fun, this is amazing. But now, at that time, calisthenics boom was happening, and calisthenics boom. You know about calisthenic athletes. I just interviewed Rajan and Rohan from AISW and Cali 101. And these guys, like muscle ups and strict muscle ups, like not even kipping. These guys are like doing muscle ups, handstands, and whatever. So I started like, you know what? I want to do that also. Like, if I can do all these things, I should be able to do that thing also. So I started venturing into a lot of calisthenic based workouts. And around that time, me and Urmi were training. So we used to do a lot of body weight endurance workouts because like, I think it's Urmi's way of like, she is very good with body weight endurance based workouts at that time. And even now for sure. And then HIIT came along. And then somehow with sheer luck, Nike picked me up. And we were doing a trainer course at that time, seminar at that time. And they taught us about mobility. They taught us about strength, and they taught us about endurance-based workouts and how the programming is supposed to be. And that also blew my mind. So at this point, I'm like absorbing as much knowledge as I can. And eventually, like in 2017, 2018, I think I did the latest course, which was like a powerlifting certification. So I used to go to Mulund from Kandivali, which is like a 2-hour drive, to go and learn from Vinuta. She's also like um, she's bronze medal winner, world level, and like she was amazing. And I started understanding how to go about increasing your base strength and using powerlifting methodology to actually increase your overall strength. So I started working towards that also. And yeah, and then eventually just started focusing a lot of Olympic lifting, and then coming to a point where I realized that, you know what, fitness itself is so vast. It's so vast that you literally cannot do everything, but you can do something for a limited amount of time and then switch, and then do something for a limited amount of time, and then switch again. And that particular programming is called as block programming. And then I realized that, you know what, about all these expertise which I have for my own personal journey, what I would want to do is I want to make sure that I want to push myself in places where I can actually see good amount of changes in numbers that I'm lifting, good amount of changes in the muscle mass that I have, and good amount of changes in my heart rate and my VO2 max. So I started programming my workouts like that. And since then, I've been using the same methodology for myself. And at the same time, I started doing a lot of offline based, my strength and conditioning sessions, which was like around this time only, because then the movement came along, which was my brand in Bandra, my first flagship, this thing. And thanks to Cindy, she gave me the opportunity. And she was, and it was like, okay, you know what? Because it is so amazing and I have so much of knowledge now from years and years of training, I want to make sure that I'm giving out a product where everybody gets exposed to everything, because the whole point of movement is that whole point of fitness is that you don't have one single language of attaining fitness, you have different languages. And that's what movement was. It was like, okay, Monday we are just going to work on strength. Tuesday we are just going to work on hypertrophy. Wednesday we are just going to work on power. Thursdays, we're just going to be doing HIIT-based workouts. Friday, we are just going to be doing endurance-based workouts. Saturday, we are just going to be doing conditioning workouts. And that program worked very well for the masses. And it was a group session, so it worked well. And yeah, man, I mean, like, eventually that all came along. And that is how my base setup has been since the longest time. And that is how I end up doing my workouts also. But now I realize that because I've been doing it for such a long time, I have surpassed the level of being an intermediate or an advanced athlete, and I'm like inching or wanting to go towards elite version of myself. I have deadlifted 3 times my body weight. Now I want to deadlift 3.1 or 3.2. But I want to make sure that I'm actually reaching that point. I need to make sure I have focused attention to these kind of trainings. And that's why my training protocol keeps changing. So I focus on my strength for 6 to 8 weeks or even 12 weeks. And then I focus on hypertrophy and so on and so forth. So if this wasn't a lot of information for you, that is how I have been exposed to different forms and different languages of training. And this is how I think that it shapes up whatever I have to offer to the people who are coming and taking training from me also. So that's that.
It's so interesting because the way you took us through this journey, you suddenly realized that you might peak at something, but you might be completely rubbish at something else. And that is so true because, when people say, oh, wow, you're so fit. And I was like, yeah, but it depends, right? You're so fit, you do so much. Yeah, but it depends. What are you comparing me with? It is so interesting to understand that most of us will never achieve a completely rounded fitness because we'll be exercising our entire life, right? we'd be doing so much of that, of body maintenance, that we won't be living the rest of our life. And for example, you haven't explored Pilates or yoga necessarily as a modality that you've trained in, right? There's so much stuff that is there as well that is interesting that we have to pick up on. I think 2, 3 things that are very important and takeaways that I want to emphasize. One is hypertrophy, right? I think hypertrophy is a very, very essential base for everyone to get in place. Most of your fitness journey will start off from there. Why? Because the more muscle you have, the better everything else will become for you, especially as you age. Like for example, my dad, who's now 72, we're making him do hypertrophy exercise. Like, remember we were talking about Vince Gironda's 8x8? I make him do 8x8, but like at a much lower level. But because as you start aging, your muscle mass is the biggest sign of longevity. And that's what you want when you're in your 72s. So start thinking about it from that perspective as well. So I think muscle building is very, very important. Hypertrophy, like you said, is a great starting point. How should people start thinking about hypertrophy?
I think a lot of people don't realize that hypertrophy is like, if they think hypertrophy and strength workouts are the same. I mean, it's working on your strength, but at the same time, like if you're talking about strength in general, you're talking about like brute strength, the ability of your body to move X amount of weight for one particular rep. That is how strong you are, essentially. And you wanting to get better and you wanting to increase that particular number is, for that, you have to work on your strength. And that is what strength training is. That is like working on your strength. So that's a different ballgame altogether. Hypertrophy, as you said, it's like muscle building based workouts, and like how you say going to a normal commercial gym and like using those machines, isolating your muscles and then going about it. Now, hypertrophy is also one of the most out there languages of fitness. People, as who I was earlier, I used to resonate fitness with going to a gym and working on my muscles, and bodybuilding was what was. But it's just a small, tiny part of what fitness is. But again, it's very important. Now, how do you go about hypertrophy based workouts? You want to make sure that you understand what you're doing to your body first. Understanding that, okay, if I'm going to start a hypertrophy based program, I am essentially breaking down my muscles in a way that these little muscle fibers are tearing down apart. And then my entire process of recovering and eating good food and like having that amount of good nutrition is going to help me or my body to recover those muscles back and basically form stronger and bigger muscles so that they cannot break down back with the same amount of stimulus. Make sense? So first of all, understanding that is very important, that you're consciously breaking down your muscles. Second thing, you're breaking down your muscles to make sure that they're getting bigger, they're getting stronger. That is one thing. Third thing, now, in order to make sure that they're getting strong and they're getting bigger, you want to also give them enough recovery time. Because if you're just focusing on breaking them down and not being able to recover them in order to make them stronger and bigger, they're not going to like get bigger and stronger. That is exactly what is going to happen. And eventually you're going to enjoy yourself because it's like a lot of muscle breakdown is going to happen. So that is one thing. So now we have set up 3 things. We have set up how to, like, what is hypertrophy based workouts is basically breaking down muscles. Second thing, why we are doing that. And third thing, what is needed. And the fourth thing, how to go about this entire process. Now, your entire body is covered with muscles. Okay. But there are like major groups of muscles that you want to focus on. Okay. Now, if you're just a basic beginner, you want to start with the bigger group of muscles first. So if I was just about to start my entire workout journey and I've never done this, I would want to have a split. Now, a split is basically how do you go about it and how do you go to a gym and start training. But 2 body split is basically working on your lower body on one day and working on your upper body. Now, if I'd have divided my lower body and upper body into different parts, now my lower body has my quads, my calves, my hamstrings, my glutes. Make sense? My upper body has my chest, my shoulders, my lats, my back, my rhomboids, my upper back, my abs, and my transversal abdominals, like that. And now I want to make sure that I'm breaking them down and getting stronger. Now, if you're a beginner, you want to make sure that you're using movements which is going to use a major group of muscles, like a group of muscles together, so that they can actually get stronger over the period of time. So, in order to make sure that I'm focusing on my lower body itself, rather than doing a a leg extension, which is going to focus only on my quads, I would rather do a squat, because a squat is not only working on my quads itself, but it's also activating my hamstrings, also working on my glutes, also working on my core. So that is a good way to start about. Then if you're doing an upper body movement, you want to do something which is like, okay, a push-up based movement, because now you're focusing not only on your chest, but you're also focusing on your shoulders, your triceps, and so on and so forth. And if you want to focus on your posterior chain, you want to do a lot of hyper extensions, bodyweight hyper extensions, supermans, and like assisted Australian pull-ups, or so on and so forth. And once you are getting stronger in those lifts, you want to make sure that now you're focusing on smaller muscle groups. So now you want to break them down further, because now they're getting used to it. Now you want to do reps and sets of isolation based movements, which is like extension. And then you want to make sure that you're doing a lot of hamstring curls, you're doing a lot of calf raises, and so on and so forth. Now, rule of thumb, when you're doing all these breaking them down movements, you want to make sure that you're reaching failure over the period of time. Okay. Now, it's said that, and a lot of people don't know about this, so it's just weird, but it's said that you want to make sure, in order to get in a good amount of hypertrophy based results, you want to expose a muscle group for at least around 15 to 20 sets in a week for absolute failure. A lot of people just go and do 3 to 4 sets, and that is about it. So you want to make sure that if you really want to go and see changes, you want to reach that failure. And you want to play among the rep ranges of 8 to 12, not more than that. Okay. And if you feel that you're actually getting stronger and you're not reaching failure in around that set, so you want to make sure that you're increasing the load that you're using. Am I making sense till now? Okay. Okay. Awesome. So once you've reached that point, now you're focusing on your, like for a good 3 or 4 weeks, you're focusing on your squats, you're focusing on your bigger group of muscles. Then for the next 3 or 4 weeks, you're getting stronger. Now you're isolating those muscles. And the next 4 weeks, then you can actually just figure out that, okay, you know what? Now I've been doing all these things. And now if I just want to go about hypertrophy based training, and now I want to actually see good amount of changes, I want to put in more effort and more time per muscle group. So now your split can change. Now it can become only pushing based muscle groups. So wherein you were just focusing an hour of your training on your entire lower body, now you're focusing an hour only on your chest, shoulders, and triceps. And on the next day, you're focusing on your pulling muscle groups. So you're focusing on your lats, your biceps, your hamstrings, and so on and so forth. Then you can keep changing. And then eventually, once you reach that point also where you see, okay, now I'm getting plateaued results, I cannot get any more results from this split, then you keep on changing. Then it keeps on changing. So there is no set rule about how to go about a particular way of having a split. Because essentially, if you're really focusing on like making sure that you're pushing your muscles to absolute failure, you're going to see results. And over here, results means growth of muscles. But over the period of time, your body gets adapted to that movement so much that you want to make sure that you're concentrating it further and further and further. And then once you reach absolute isolated point where you can't see any more changes, when you have like really reached out, you want to take a step back, deload, do lesser reps for like a couple of weeks or like a week or something, and then start back again, and so on and so forth. And there are like millions and millions of programs outside online which can actually help you do that. So yeah, that is what hypertrophy is, man. I really hope that this was a good crash course in that.
Because, this is one of the most important things. And it's also important for not just men. I think, very often we get into this mindset of, oh, muscle building means it's a man thing. And like, no, muscle building means it's for everyone. Muscle building is important for my mom as well. Right?
Yes.
Muscle building is so critical for everybody to get, because like you said, it gives you that base level strength. We're not talking about powerlifter strength, like you saying 3 times my body weight. That's a crow. So we're not saying that 3 times my body weight, but we're saying that it is giving you base level strength to survive and thrive in life. And that's what we're looking at with hypertrophy. Before going ahead, let's take a quick break and come back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, Siet Tires and the Whole Truth Foods. We really appreciate the support. So this week, tune into This Round is on Me with Gauri Devidayal. She invited Sonal Holland, India's only master of wine, and they discussed the goodness and business of wine, the pros and cons of being women in the hospitality business, and motherhood. On The Traveling Professor, Siddharth Deshmukh looks at evolution of search and wonders how voice search might change things yet again. On Advertising is Dead, Varun Dugirala featured Anirudh Singla of Pepper Content. He shared his perspective on the term content and how he sees it going forward. On Storytellers and Storysellers, Vinny spoke to Ayushman Sinha, head of Represent, a music talent management agency. He spoke about life as a manager and about nurturing new talent and paving a progressive career path for them. On Cyrus Says, we had entrepreneur, businesswoman, and Ruckus Avenue radio host Alexandra Masur. They discussed ethnicity, life as Desi American, Seema Auntie's matchmaking show, and a lot of other fun stuff. Also, IVM has an hour every Sunday on the Ruckus Avenue Radio Network, a US-based radio station that caters to the South Asian community. It's available on Dash Radio, and you can catch the episodes on the IVM Likes feed every Monday. On The Habit Coach with Ashton Doctor, Ashton asks us to commit to sleep and prioritize it over every party, work deadline, or binge watch session, as it is a crucial time when the body slows down for maintenance and recovery. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Okay, we're back from our break. Tell us a little bit about endurance. What is endurance?
Now, there are like two types of endurance workouts. Like endurance, basically, I always give a very, 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 very obvious, endurance is synonym to running a marathon. You're doing something at a sub-maximal capacity for a longer period of time. Okay, so your ability of your muscles or your body to make sure that you're moving in a particular way or a particular movement for a longer period of time for a sustainable effort at sub-maximal capacity is what endurance is. Okay, now if you think of it like that, you have like major two types of endurance. You're talking about cardiovascular endurance, then you're talking about muscular endurance. If you're talking about muscular endurance, it's ability of your muscles to make sure that, okay, it's moving in a certain way or it's being activated in a certain way at sub-maximal capacity for longer reps. Now, when I say longer reps, it's anything about 20 would be considered as being an endurance-based workouts, but can go up to like 50, 60 or whatever. Then it's like sub-maximal. But then we're talking about cardiovascular endurance. It's like ability of your heart to keep pumping at a good amount of sub-maximal heart rate. So when I'm talking about sub-maximal, I'm talking about 65 to 75% at an elevated level for a longer period of time. So these are two types of endurance-based workout techniques that you want to focus on. Now, the thing with endurance is because you're doing it for a longer period of time, you're burning a lot more calories. Okay, and it's focusing on smaller or like slower twitching muscle fibers. Now, because it's focusing on slower twitching muscle fibers, they have a longer rate of failure. That means you can actually make sure that you're pushing it for a longer period of time. So we're talking about like type 1 muscle fibers which are like longer endurance and like reach failure at a very, 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 very delayed amount of time. So if you're talking about that, because they reach failure at a very long amount of time, you can actually push them a lot more. So you get a lot of work done at a sub-maximal capacity. So that is what endurance is in a nutshell. Now, how do you go about endurance-based training? Now, that is one important aspect, right? Because if you're focusing on just endurance-based training, after a point, this is going to happen that you're going to reach your peak of performance because you're going to not be able to push after a point in terms of like your numbers and so on and so forth. So in order to get maximum amount of performance for endurance-based workouts also, you want to work on your strength. Yep. And when I say strength, that can be either done by good amount of hypertrophy-based workouts also or good amount of like strength-based workouts also. So then it becomes an assistive then it becomes an assistive workout for your endurance-based movements itself. So I really hope that answered your question. What is endurance-based workouts, right?
And you said something so important because many times people have gotten into running without trying to add in the strength-based aspects of it or the muscle-building aspects of it. And as a result, they've plateaued. And as soon as they got those aspects in, they've suddenly seen a performance increase.
See, the thing is, the genetic makeup of people would always keep changing, right? Like some people are more type 1 muscle dominated, some people are more type 2 or 2A, 2B muscle dominated. For me, my fast twitching muscle fibers are much more dominant. I feel so. Okay. But in general, if you're working on a hypertrophy and if you're actually getting more muscle mass, eventually you're going to make sure that you have good amount of muscles to actually push further. And people don't realize that. People always said, okay, what your strength-based workouts are always going to act against this thing, and the amount of extra weight that you have is always going to act against your running. But that is not the thing. You want to make sure that you have good amount of weight to actually sustain and help you get better in your speed. And of course, the more muscles that you have, you also the faster you'll actually get. And people don't realize that.
Absolutely. What is another important concept of fitness that you think is overlooked? I think recovery is very important. Do you want to talk about recovery for a bit?
But I personally feel recovery is fitness, man. I mean, like, if you see the fittest of the athletes, all of them, they take recovery as the paramount, because what good is your best performance if you can't repeat it? Like, how are you going to be at that level? How are you going to be a Cristiano Ronaldo, or how are you going to be a Lionel Messi, or how are you going to be Virat Kohli if you cannot repeat that performance over and over again? In order to make sure that you're repeating that performance over and over again, you have to make sure that you're recovering fast. And fitness, the faster you recover, the better your fitness level is. So you see the heart rate. I also see that you're wearing a tracker and I'm wearing a tracker. So the faster your heart rate gets to a normal stable state, the faster your recovery is and the faster your fitness levels are. So that is like cardiovascular recovery I'm talking about. Then you're talking about muscular recovery. Muscular recovery is also like the ability of your muscles to generate the same amount of strength or the same amount of contraction or the same amount of extension over the period of time. That is what muscle recovery would be. The same amount of force, that is what muscle recovery would be. And then you have CNS recovery, which is like central nervous system. Now that is also one of the most important part that people overlook. Because if you're working on your strength-based workouts, for example, I just did this workout, which was like, I'm just starting off my strength-based workout format again from like a year and a half ago. So I'm lifting heavy weights. I was doing 110 kg squats for like 5 into 5. And I'm talking about like around 2 times my body weight. Like I'm like, okay, 1.8, 1.9 times my body weight. And I'm doing it for reps and reps and reps and reps again. Now, after a point, my muscles aren't going to break down because my muscles are strong enough to do that. But the only thing that is going to work on my strength is my ability of my brain to send in signals to my muscles to contract at the right time and extend at the right time. Now, when you're doing the strength workouts, it's so taxing for your brain to keep doing that over and over again and over and over again that your CNS goes into a state of fatigue. And once you reach that state of fatigue, you cannot generate that amount of power. You cannot generate that amount of contraction. And I think a lot of people forget that. A lot of people push. A lot of people complain about being lethargic or being low on energy after the day that they've had a massive amount of strength workouts or massive amount of HIIT-based workouts or like anything or conditioning workouts. It's because their CNS isn't activated. And if they are on a low-carb diet, then though they don't have enough fuel for your brain also to recover. Plus, the sleep pattern is all over the place because you are actually so wired in. You've given your everything that you cannot really have a proper sleep. Plus, they are caffeinated. So a lot of people don't understand how important recovery is. The best athlete has the best sleep, I feel.
Yeah, they sleep for 10 hours, 12 hours a night. It is so critical. And to put it in perspective, like you spoke about muscle building and muscle recovery. And we all know that people have protein shakes afterwards and you have your fish oil tablets afterwards and all of that is great. How do you focus on CNS recovery?
I personally feel that CNS recovery needs to happen with time. Time is super important. I think if I'm working at... Now, when I'm talking about, programming is one of the most important things. That is one thing. Because if my program is all over the place, so that means, I have heavy squats on Monday, then I have heavy deadlifts on Tuesdays, then I have heavy bench press on this thing where I'm working on like 80% or 75% or even 95% of maximum capacity. How is my brain going to produce that amount of effort? It's not. It's not being able to do that. So you have to make sure that you're giving enough time for your body to recover. Uh, once you've done like uh, breaking down those muscles and doing that amount of work in that particular movement, you want to give enough time. That is one thing. Second thing, I think sleep is very important. Now, sleep, a lot of people don't realize how important sleep is, because that is the time where your body is like kind of rebuilding itself, repairing itself, and like understanding that, okay, these are the uh, areas, the triggered areas where I really need to give more attention. And a lot of people don't realize that. And the third thing is nutrition. A lot of people ignore carbs. A lot of people ignore good amount of proteins. A lot of people don't have good amount of calories in their system. And once you're not having good amount of calories or not enough carbs, you're basically, if you're not having enough calories, you're essentially starving yourself. That is one thing. And if you're not having enough carbs, you're starving your brain. And also, you're not getting enough micronutrients for your system. So, not enough vitamins, not enough minerals, not enough like zinc in your system. And then it's going to hamper your productivity and your performance over the period of time. And and fatigue, it builds up, it builds up, it builds up. And then you just have a crash. So, a lot of people don't realize that. So, yeah, I think all these aspects should be taken into consideration. And it's just so weird, right? Because, okay, and I thought about it like, okay, I had crazy amount of food. My sleep was okay, decent. Then what was the problem? The problem was me not giving enough time for my system to actually recuperate. And people don't realize that. In fact, I don't realize.
Yeah, because what's interesting is that in order for a message to be sent, it's actually a chemical reaction. So your body has to develop enough of those chemicals to be able to react again in that format. Otherwise you're normally just saying, ATP, but ATP was in my legs, now my chest ATP is different. It's not that. It has nothing to do with that at all. And it's so funny when we think about it and we think about recovery, we only think about muscle recovery and muscle building. But every time there's a muscle that has to be recovered, there's also the nerves that have to be created for that little next muscle to be fired up. There's so much of other scaffolding that goes along with just thinking about muscle building. So it's not just protein, cardia. That's why getting your fats and your fish oils are so important.
So important, so important. And honestly, I am deep diving into nutrition right now at this phase of my life where I feel that, okay, it's important because I'm reaching 29 now in what, 8 months or something.
Kalas, after 30, all downhill.
So like I always used to have a perception that, you know what, I'll outwork it. I can drink on Saturday night and I can flush it out on Sunday with a run and so on and so forth. And now I realize that my body cannot take it anymore. Yeah. So I cannot work as much as I used to work. So I have to make sure that I'm smarter. And the only way I can actually do and have the same amount of performance is by making sure that I'm working on this aspect, the nutrition aspect, a lot more. And that's why I'm doing a course. I'm like really making sure that I'm like broadening my horizons in terms of knowledge aspect a lot more. And see how that goes about.
In fact, what you're talking about is so important because, and I think the best thing is that you started off so early. Like I started off my fitness journey at the age of, I think, 32-ish, right? 32-ish is late, better later than never.
Wow.
But, I wish I had started earlier. I would definitely know what my body would be like if I started earlier on. And nutrition is one of the most important things because our grandparents tell us that, you are what you eat. So if you don't realize that, then till you look at yourself in the mirror and the penny drops that everything that you see in the mirror was once food.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? Now you think about your Cheeto kahan gaya? Wo beer kahan gaya? And then you start realizing that shit, what did I put in my body all this while? And I think 2-3 years ago, I had one of the most powerful thought process changes that happened. And I said that if my body changes and I get a new body every 7 years, that the theory that you get a new body every 7 years, like a few parts don't change, but everything else changes. What could I have created or what can I create if I focus on myself for the next 7 years? Imagine that new body. What would it be like? And I think that is something that then started driving me, especially from a nutrition point of view.
It's such a beautiful way to look at it, right? I mean, now when I look back, like it's at this point, I think a lot of people should retrospect and like just look back and think that, oh, Those were the things which I was consuming, right? See, in the end, whatever you're having, if you are like really focusing on your fitness as a priority and like as not even a priority, you know what, like screw priority, like even if you're just focusing on, if you're just moving, you want to think of food as more fuel-based resource rather than just something that you're going to like feel good about. Of course, like we are humans and we eat food to feel good about ourselves. And that is one of the most important driving source for our happiness also. Because like I end up going out because I want to eat good food. Yeah. Like, and I travel because I want to eat the good food. But at the same time, like adulterating it and like just abusing our system is something that, yeah, if you haven't stopped it already, you should stop it right now, because then it is going to affect you and you're not getting younger, man. You're like always, every single minute, you're getting older. Yeah, this body is actually just, once you reach the peak, then it's just like, it's starting to get older now.
And so one of the things that I keep telling my clients this, and it's so important, is that you never know how good you can feel till you actually make that change, right? You never know how good you can feel till you probably, like, for example, you cut out sugar for a month or 2 months, right? You never know how good you can feel till you cut out alcohol for a while. Or all these things, you remove it for a while and say, oh, and then know that this is what you're giving up every time you make a poor choice.
And even now, like I spoke about Unlock earlier, nutrition wasn't in the entire ecosystem. Now, the reason I'm taking a time and like I'm taking a while to actually do this, like the next season of Unlock, is because I want to make sure that it becomes a priority source. It becomes like, okay, you know what? You're not only getting fitness, you're getting nutrition and fitness rather than fitness and nutrition. Because once that happens in your approach as a person who's also imparting the knowledge, I think the result and the relationship with you and your client also changes completely.
Dramatically.
Like, yeah, exactly. And you're like, I'm getting excited while saying this, but yeah, you start building relations which are like long term. Like you're inculcating knowledge which is like going to be long term.
Absolutely. Become responsible. And I think, this podcast is all about this. What is your journey going to be? If nothing else that you've taken out from this podcast, take out this, that your fitness journey is an evolution. It should be an evolution. If you've been doing the same kind of workout for the last 3 years, that is not an evolution. Question yourself, see what you can change, see what new you can do, because every single modality is going to be different. And ultimately, it's all about challenging yourself, pushing yourself, and making sure that whatever you're doing is hard enough. If your workout is not hard enough, you're probably not doing it right.
Yeah, then you're just like being in your comfort zone and like just chilling, honestly. Because after a point, as I said, right, your body adapts. If your body is adapting, then you're not changing. Then if you're not changing, then what's the whole point of like doing? Of course, like feeling good about yourself is amazing. But at the same time, you want to see returns on that investment that you're doing every single day. Like you want to see good amount of changes, because that is going to drive you inevitably to push harder in future and get better overall, physically, mentally, and like spiritually also, because it kind of like makes you take that inward journey within yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this conversation, Kunal. Kunal, how can people get in touch with you? What are the interesting things that you're up to?
Actually, they can reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @subtle.strength. I have this online fitness venture. This is called as Unlock. It's basically an ecosystem. You pay X amount of money for 4 weeks, and you get access to sessions which run throughout the entire day. There's bodyweight workouts, there are dumbbell-based workouts led by me. There's Animal Flow, which is led by a beautiful coach who's amazing in Hyderabad. Her name is Nishita. There is MMA by Carl. There is yoga, there's Pilates, and we have athletes like Tanvi Hans, Jyoti Bharat, and Shweta Subaya coming in and taking in sessions, marquee sessions over there. So yeah, the Unlock Season 9 is coming. Sorry, Season 8 is coming in April. And if that is that, I also collaborated with startup called as, it's not a startup, it's like a massive entity now, CureFit. And I have my own live program, so if you're a member over there, Tone Up with Kunal is what you would want to go and check it out. It's a hypertrophy based program. And now that you know what it is, you would want to go and check it out and see the results that you can actually get through in the span of 6 weeks.
Superb. Thank you so much, Kunal.
Thank you, Ashton. It was lovely speaking to you.
So start these habits and share with us your progress using the hashtag #TheHabitCoach. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashton Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome 180.
Namaskar, dear friends. My name is Ashish Vidyarthi. Life, as you know, is a journey. And you and I, travelers, how can we celebrate this travel? I have a podcast for you, Begin the Journey. I share stories and moments from my life. Do tune in every Monday and Thursday to listen to my podcast on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Cheers.
From uncensored and unfiltered chats with the who's who of the entertainment industry, I, Siddharth Kannan, bring your very heartcake chat show called Candid Kannan. Tune in every Friday on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.